Greetings, everyone, and welcome to HIMSS. Today, we continue with another free assistive technology webinar from HIMSS called Using eBot for Greater Independence at Home. I'm James McCarthy, your presenter today, and I am low vision myself, so I hope to give you some insights and share with you, in fact, some of the ways that I've been using eBot since we first had a few prototypes at our office, and I've used it in the home, I've used it away from the home, and that's what we'll be talking about today. The format's going to be about a 20 to 25 minute presentation followed by questions and answers. Michelle, our female voice today, will come back on at the end of the presentation and describe for you the process to submit your questions. So as you can see, our first picture actually starts with a picture of eBot in the home. It's actually the eBot doing its distant forward viewing, looking at a television and magnifying that onto a monitor that allows you to zoom in on particular portions of the TV at home. So we just thought this would be an appropriate starting image for you to see. So if we go to our next slide, we talk about the history of video magnifiers. This is a very, very general history. Video magnifiers started out being big, bulky desktop video magnifiers. Back in the old days, they even used the CRT picture tube type monitors. Gosh, units could weigh upwards of 70 pounds. I actually go back to using my first video magnifier in 1974. The first companies in the United States that sold video magnifiers sold the very first ones in late 1970 or early 1971. So I joined this industry in 1982, and I have a lot of years being low vision, using video magnifiers. So I really do want to encourage you, if you have questions about video magnifiers, even in general, in this session, I will hang out in the webinar for a while to field your questions. Since I'm a user for a long time, as well as been in the industry now for more than 30 years. We also had these somewhat portable cameras, and they oftentimes connected to computers, usually Windows PCs, and they often were not foldable, portable in terms of they were lighter than the desktop models. They still required a desktop to be placed on. As opposed to our third category, which actually this category of handheld video magnifiers really started in the early 2000s, around 2003, 2004. And those were a godsend for a lot of people because it really gave them a camera, monitor, lens, all in one, something that weighed under 10 ounces to take with them, very easily carryable. We're going to be talking more about this middle category of product when we talk about eBot. But we're going to see that eBot has a lot of unique, novel features to it. So our next slide actually talks about what some of the challenges were. What existing users said about the desktops, of course, is that they're too large and they're too heavy, so they needed a more portable solution. People also said that video magnifiers, sometimes their eyes would get tired using video magnifiers. It's my experience, generally, your eyes are getting tired from your low vision, not necessarily from using a video magnifier, because if you use the computer screen, you'd probably feel very similar. So we did have a challenge on our hands, which is how can we make a product that is a little easier on your eyes. And a third category of comments that were very common was that people had to reach for controls. So not that their arms would get tired, but they're reaching for controls and they can't really see the controls. They're feeling for the controls. So we looked at alternative user interfaces that the user wouldn't have to reach, something they could have closer to them, something they could be holding in their hand. So a more user-friendly user interface. The solutions that we came up with, we have three models of eBot. eBot, eBot Advanced, and eBot Pro. I'll explain more. You'll see some of the differentiating features of the different models as we go through these slides. and I'll summarize the 3 eBot models at the end. And I'll also summarize at the end why we titled this slide presentation today, this webinar, Greater Independence at Home. So we can see from this that eBot is a portable reading, writing, and distance video magnifier. But what we've also done is we've added OCR text-to-speech. And this means that the eBot camera can actually snap an image of the printed document and read it back to you out loud. So the slides are actually talking. This slide, I'll let you read the slide more. I'll just put out highlights. What we are doing with eBot is we have this intuitive interface of using a remote control, which is a wireless remote, or when you're using a tablet or using a PC and you're connected wirelessly, as long as it's a touchscreen PC like a Microsoft Surface, which is a Windows computer, it's also a tablet, you actually have touchscreen controls. And the touchscreen controls many people find intuitive nowadays. Many people are using iPads and Android tablets. Even the young students love their tablet devices, and they've taught mom, dad, and grandma how to use them. And this is something that we're also making possible. The eBot is the only video magnifier currently that will display the camera's image on an iPad or Android tablet. So we do this over Wi-Fi, which means it's wireless. And this is part of what gives you this greater independence. And I'll describe the greater independence later. And this is really one of the secrets, or the secret that's in the sauce of the eBot, is we're establishing a new paradigm of video magnifiers in that you can now use your camera wirelessly connected to a monitor or display device. That brings me to the next point, which is the versatile and flexible connectivity. The eBot gives you the broadest connectivity of any video magnifier because, as I mentioned, it is unique in that it connects to iPad and Android tablets, but it also connects to Windows PCs. It also connects to Mac laptops and PCs. And it also connects to independent freestanding monitors, which means if you have a TV or computer monitor, provided it has an HDMI connection, which is the popular high definition connection. If you bought a monitor today online or from a Best Buy, Office Depot, 99.9% chance it will have this HDMI connector. And this is what preserves the HD image quality of eBot's HD camera to be displayed. Now if you want a large monitor to use at home, a 24, 28, or even larger monitor, this is what you do. You connect the eBot to your large monitor via the HDMI connection. So we give the broadest range of compatibility from tablets to PCs to Mac computers to freestanding monitors. Now also we have a clear image quality, and this is because we use an HD camera. Many portables today are still not using HD cameras. Portables only beginning to use HD cameras. The desktops have been using HD cameras for about the last 2 or 3 years. Almost every brand, every manufacturer has moved to HD. So the eBot is using an HD camera in all 3 models. So we give you a good, crisp image quality, even on your laptop, even with the wireless connection. It's amazing. Well, the OCR capability, one of the important points is not only do we give you OCR text-to-speech, which most portables that connect to external monitors of any type don't give you, but we give you a choice of the eBot Advance has what we call a screen capture OCR, so it's what you see on the screen is what it's going to read out loud. Whereas the eBot Pro, it gives you a choice of the screen capture OCR, or it can actually snapshot the entire page, an 8.5 by 11 page, and read it back to you. So the Pro model is actually our high-end model. The Advanced model is actually the middle model. That's something to remember. But we've also designed the eBot so that it can be a freestanding, standalone OCR device. You don't need to have it connected to a computer, something that has memory and power to it. The eBot is actually a standalone OCR. You don't even have to have it connected to a monitor. and it can snapshot a page and read it out loud because eBot has a built-in voice guide. So we don't need a voice from an iPad or a voice from a computer. eBot has its own voice. Okay? Portability. We've designed it to be portable. It can be folded down. You'll see a picture of it folded. It weighs, the eBot Advanced weighs about 4.5 to 5 pounds. The eBot Pro weighs 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds more. It comes in a carrying case. The carrying case is actually used as either a backpack, a shoulder strap, or a hand carry. So the carrying case is a 3-in-1. So just looking at some of the 7 points that we have here, you see a lot of unique features already. So if we move to our next slide, we talk a little more about our remote control. So the remote control is wireless. It operates on a battery. But this actually allows you not to be reaching to the back control panel where there are controls on the eBot and eBot Advanced. eBot Pro actually has very limited number of controls on the back panel because it has a larger circuit board in there to give it its advanced features. So we offer you a remote control that has all of the functions of the eBot. Also, whenever you're using a tablet, we give you touchscreen controls. And you'll see a picture of how we control the touchscreen. You do it with gestures, but you also do it with the eBot icons. The eBot Pro model is particularly unique in that it's the only video magnifier on the market today that has a motorized camera. The motorized camera allows you to actually move the camera from the reading position to the distance viewing position, or from the distance position back to the reading position by the simple press of a button on the remote control or pressing an icon on the tablet's touchscreen. So you're not moving it manually and removing a close-up lens or putting a close-up lens back in place as you do with all other distance viewing video magnifiers. So the motorized camera actually gives you some real convenience. Another thing that the motorized camera does is it remembers the reading location and the distance location. So whenever you're going back or switching from one to the other, it always goes back to the last location it was looking at. This is a big save in time and hassle for the user as well, because you're not doing it manually. Especially when you're trying to find magnified print, a little movement in the camera makes a big jump on the page. The larger the magnification, the more sensitive the movement. So having this camera automatically returning to its prior memorized location is extremely beneficial and time-saving and hassle-saving. Another feature that we've given the eBot because of its the eBot Pro, because of its motorized camera capability, is it has a different remote control than the eBot Advanced does, in that it has a built-on joystick. That joystick simulates the movement of an XY table, which is a big, bulky, left, right, forward, backward moving table that is on desktop models. Portables normally don't have an XY moving table because they're big, bulky, heavy. So our solution to this, to give you a better user interface for more independence and not having to reach at something, is just hold the remote in your hand, put your thumb on the joystick, and move the joystick to the right, and the print begins reading across the page. You can go backwards to the left, you can move up, you can move down. So it simulates the movement of an XY table. I was very surprised how easy it is to use. And in this day of video games, I guess the joysticks are popular and they've been refined, so it's actually a very convenient user interface. You can also use the joystick to pan around a room in the distance view. So it's not only for reading, also in distance view, you can use the remote to move the camera and pan around the room. I'm giving you an example here of the touch screen. Now the eBot does not have scanning capability or OCR text-to-speech capability. Only the eBot Advanced, which has the screen capture and read, and the eBot Pro, which either has screen capture or full page OCR to read, but the eBot model does not have it. So pictured here on the left is the eBot icon screen for the eBot Advanced, and on the right is the icon screen for the eBot Pro. So you can see that the Pro on the right has more icons. The Advanced on the left has fewer icons. So the normal way that you would increase the print that would be in the open area is you do a pinch or spread to increase or decrease the size of magnification or the zoom. There's actually 60 zoom levels in the camera. And the actual magnification will depend on your monitor size. So if you have it connected to a 9.7-inch iPad, for example, your minimum to maximum magnification will range from 0.8x, so that's slightly below 1x magnification, all the way up to 35x. But if you're connected to a 24-inch monitor, since your monitor is larger, your zoom range is going to be wider. It's going to start at a higher level because your monitor is bigger, and it's going to zoom to a higher level because your monitor is bigger. So on a 24-inch, it will be from 2.2x to 95x magnification. Now we have the icon in the top right of the screen. That's to change your image modes. You can go forward or backward through 8 image modes: full color, white on black, black on white, and 5 other text and color backgrounds. You can actually choose your text and color backgrounds from a palette of 56. You can actually choose to limit from the 8 default image modes. You can actually limit it to as little as 2. You always will have the full color, natural color image, but if you only wanted to read with white letters on a black background, you could temporarily disable the other 6 images. You can re-enable them at any time. There's a menu that you can always bring in from the left side of your screen, or pressing a menu button on the remote control, and that's where you would choose your video settings. Below that, on the eBot Pro is an auto scroll. The auto scroll is basically more or less doing the function of the joystick. It's scrolling across the screen to read, and it can do that automatically at a preset speed. So that feature is available in the Pro. It's not available in the Advanced. Our third icon down, which both models have, is your OCR. When you want to scan the image, you press the OCR icon, and it takes a picture. And after a few seconds of processing, it will begin reading out loud. And once again, if you don't want it out loud, you need to use an earbud or a headset. You can do that. There is an audio jack on the panel, the back panel of the eBot. When you want it to return to live video, you would press the same OCR icon, and it returns to live video. Again, an icon that is only available on the eBot Pro, the right image, is if your camera is in reading position, then the icon will say distance, and you press the icon and the camera will automatically move to the distance position and zoom in at a distance at whatever the video settings were and the location of the camera was that was last in the distance view. When you're in distance view, that icon actually changes to near view. Press that and it will return to the reading position and to the same settings, same camera location where you were last reading. So that's a big, big help, especially in a classroom situation, so that the user does not need to find their reading position again. The camera will return to the last reading position. Just don't move the paper, and it will return to the exact reading location. And the last icon is that the eBot allows you to lock the focus. So if you're going to do handwriting under it or a craft under it, and you don't want the autofocus camera to autofocus, you can lock the focus if you desire. I myself don't find much of a use for the focus lock. The HD camera of the eBot works very well, and I haven't found a true use for me for the focus lock. And also going across the bottom now, you see the bar. That's our contrast bar. So if we need to increase or decrease the contrast of the image, that's how we do it, with that contrast bar. So this gives you all of the capabilities, same capabilities using the touchscreen as on the remote control of the eBot Advanced and the eBot Pro. Our next slide just talks about the clear image, and we have a clear image quality primarily because we're using an HD high definition camera. And the devices that we're displaying on, all of them for the most part are going to be HD screens. Mac computers are known to have excellent displays. So the image is amazing on an iPad. It's amazing on a Mac. On other monitors, most monitors these days are set for HD as a default. And so we have an HD camera and an HD monitor. You're going to get a high contrast, high quality image. But the video compression technology that we are using to display the eBot over Wi-Fi wirelessly to tablet devices is also one of the reasons that we don't have a delay in the image when you're scrolling it, and you have a very sharp, crisp image. It has a lot to do with the video compression technology that we've developed in order to make the eBot Wi-Fi accessible. And talking about Wi-Fi, let me just take a moment here to mention that the eBot is its own Wi-Fi hotspot. It is not dependent on the Wi-Fi in your building, in your home, at a school, wherever you may take the eBot. It is its own Wi-Fi hotspot. Some people ask, well, then there's a subscription. How much is the subscription for the Wi-Fi? There is no subscription. It's all hardware. Everything's stored on our Wi-Fi hotspot chip that is inside of the eBot, built in. So there's no charge, no subscription. It's just HIM's Wi-Fi. So when we say Wi-Fi, just know that eBot is its own Wi-Fi hotspot. You can take it out on the patio, use it on the patio. I can take it out at lunch and sit on the bench, have my lunch, and be sitting under a tree, and the Wi-Fi of the eBot will be working just fine. We talk about our broad compatibility, and once again, this is compatibility with iPad and Android tablets, compatibility with monitors, a TV or a computer monitor, as long as it has an HDMI video input port. Then compatibility with Windows PCs and Macs. Then we talk about our near and distance viewing, and this is part of what separates eBot from a lot of other video magnifiers on the market. Is most video magnifiers are reading and writing only. eBot has reading, writing, and distance video magnification. It also has about 12 inches of clearance between the camera and the reading platform. So you can actually do hobbies and crafts. I've seen someone actually do a painting under an eBot with pretty long paintbrush. So there's a lot of open architecture to the eBot, as you can see from some of the prior eBot images. Most video magnifiers that are portable do not have OCR, so there may only be fewer than 5 or 6 models in the market that have OCR. Most of them with OCR are desktop models. Those that use OCR as the primary feature of the product, the OCR cameras don't have a good live video image. So we're actually using a live video camera, so you get a good quality video image. And we have in the eBot Pro its own dedicated OCR camera, so you can get the choice of an image capture scan or a full page OCR. And it's a standalone OCR, as I mentioned earlier. It has its own built-in voice guide. You don't have to connect it to a computer, or you don't have to connect it and try and use a voice from a tablet. It is its own voice. You can change the voice volume, you can change the voice pitch, the voice speech, and you can select a male or female voice. So these are all features of the text-to-speech that we use. For those of you that might be a little aware and may want to ask what kind of voice are we using, we're using a product named Acapella. And the voices that we use, the male voice is named Ryan, the female voice is named Heather. But you can set the voice pitch of each voice as well, and that's important to get the right pitch for your ear, regardless of whether you're using a male or female voice. How eBot gives you independence in your daily life, and we show some examples here. So we can use eBot to watch television. It's amazing to me that I've sat in front of the TV about 18 inches away, maybe 12 inches away, depending on what type of programming and how serious I am about watching rather than listening. My wife has learned to sit on the other side so she can see the full view of the TV. But it's amazing to me how many people want to use a video magnifier pointed out at a distance at their TV and zoom in on a particular portions and view it on the 27-inch, 28-inch monitor that they have their video magnifier connected to. So this is a lot more popular than I originally thought. So viewing TV programs, the news. One user actually uses it to read the scrolling display on the news channels or the sports channels, so they can see the sports scores popping up, or you can read the teleprompter scrolling across at the bottom of the screen to read news bits. So I thought that was interesting application of the eBot. We have, of course, your normal, handling your mail and your bills, hobbies, doing hobbies on there. Recipes. Something interesting about recipes in eBot and why it gives you independence. I've been in people's homes. They have small kitchens, let's say. Sometimes you have a big kitchen, and you have to grab a recipe or grab something out of a counter, a shelf, and you have to walk over to the other side where you have your video magnifier and put it under and read it. And sometimes, you have to keep going back and forth. Well, what you could do with an eBot, you could have eBot on one side of your kitchen counter, and on the other side, if you're using an iPad, for example, you could just have your iPad with you. And if you have the eBot Pro model, you can actually scroll left or right, up or down a page using the touchscreen. Just put your index finger and start scrolling left or right, up or down, and you can read across. So if you have an eBot Pro, you don't even have to go back and to move the paper. You can just use the touchscreen. So that's like a kitchen application. I was in a home of a woman who had a big kitchen, and she liked the idea she could just take the monitor with her. She had it connected to an iPad. The distance, the Wi-Fi distance, when you have it connected to a iPad or an Android tablet, the distance is about 30 to 50 feet. As long as you're not going around walls, if you're staying right within your kitchen, 30 to 50 feet, it will keep the connection. Okay? We also can do shopping, looking at shopping catalogs. Viewing photographs is very big. Vacation, family photographs. Reading letters. Planning trips. eBot's portable. So you plan your vacation under an eBot, then you'll be able to take eBot with you. So you can really use eBot anywhere you go. So anywhere, anytime. So you can use eBot anywhere in your home. You can use it in the dining room, your kitchen, your living room, and office, downstairs or upstairs. I know some people that own two video magnifiers, both desktop models, one downstairs and one upstairs, or one downstairs in the cellar and the other upstairs. Now with eBot, you don't really need to. You can take your eBot and your monitor with you. So let's say downstairs you have a large monitor, or let's say upstairs in your home office you have a large monitor, 28-inch monitor with your eBot. But in evenings you want to sit down more with your, watching the TV, sitting more comfortably on the sofa. If you bring your eBot down, just put it on a coffee table or a lamp stand next to your chair, and you just have your iPad. You'll be able to use the touchscreens of the iPad and just hold the iPad in front of you and control it if you have an eBot Pro. If you have an eBot or an eBot Advanced, you just need to put the eBot within arm's reach so that you can move the paper and read. But you can actually have one video magnifier connected to different monitors in different rooms in your home and just take your eBot back and forth between the monitors because of its versatile connectivity. When you go away, you can take eBot and use it in adult education classes. You can take it on a vacation, a cruise. When you're on a cruise, look out at the distance and see what people are seeing at a distance. I have someone at home that I know, they actually use it to look at the birds that are on the telephone wires. So a little bit of bird viewing. He's a little bit of a hobbyist. There's just many other applications that, you could take eBot with you and use it. It's not something that you'd want to take to the grocery store, although one user said, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to put the eBot in the basket where the kid would sit, and I'm going to have my iPad and put the item under the eBot and just look at it on my iPad. And I said, well, you're motivated. I would probably use a portable video magnifier like our Candy 5 HD to take to a grocery store. But I guess he wants to see more and use his iPad. So there's just a multitude of uses for it when you're away. We talked about our portability. So I listed the weight, the eBot Advanced, about 4.5 to 5 pounds. The eBot Pro, about 6.5 to 7 pounds. And comes in a case that's a 3-in-1 backpack, shoulder strap, or a hand carry case. Now we give you some of the specifications. You can read these specifications, so they get pretty detailed. You can also see the specifications online. And we see, again, connecting to a PC or connecting to a Mac, you have your hotkeys. So the user interface when you're connecting to a computer is often your keyboard, because part of the intention of connecting the eBot to your computer is keeping your hands on your keyboard, so you can control your computer from your keyboard, and you can control the eBot from your keyboard with hotkeys. And this slide describes the hotkeys. We'll talk about our 3 models of eBot. So eBot is reading, writing, and distance. Does not have the OCR capability. The price is $2,695. Now, all of the eBot models have the same versatile connectivity to tablets, to monitors, to Windows and Macs. Okay. Then the next step up is the eBot Advanced. It gives you the screen capture OCR text-to-speech. So generally, I suggest you take the magnification down to one of the lower levels, 2, 3, 4 times magnification. It will get you all the way across an 8.5 by 11 page, and it will get you at those magnification levels about 50, 60% down a page, which means in about 2 image scans, you can read a full page, but it will only read what you see on the screen. So we call it screen capture OCR. Then we go up to the eBot Pro model. eBot Pro gives you the capability of full page OCR. It also has a built-in SD card slot so that you can use an SD card and store your image scans on the SD card. You can actually take the SD card then to your computer and transfer the files into your computer. You can also recall the images on a tablet screen or a monitor later. So as long as you put your SD card back in the slot, you go into a menu, you can recall your scanned images, your saved images, and you can listen to the image being read again. It also has the motorized camera features, which I've described some of the benefits to you. In a school setting in particular, many job settings, the eBot Pro is the way to go. So I think we're ready for questions and answers. Obviously, I didn't go into great detail with the menu, but if you have any questions, Michelle will take your questions and she'll read them, and I'll try to answer them. Someone, actually asked me yesterday, how does the eBot display Wi-Fi? I mean, if I have an iPad, how do I get the image of the eBot onto the screen? Well, it connects over Wi-Fi. So you first need to go into your settings, go to Wi-Fi. You'll see eBot as one of the networks. You select your eBot, put in the password. You click join, and eBot and your tablet will connect. Then you go back to your home screen where you should have previously downloaded the free eBot Viewer app. In the case of an iPad, you download it from the Apple App Store. In the case of an Android device, you download it from the Google Market. The eBot Viewer is free. And what you do then is you click your eBot Viewer icon, and in just a few seconds, the Wi-Fi connection will be made, and you will see the display from the camera displayed onto your tablet. So that's how we connect. And once again, remember that eBot is its own Wi-Fi hotspot. So You don't need to have Wi-Fi in the room or in the building that you're in. It is its own Wi-Fi hotspot. There is no subscription. Everything's built in.
And I can see that Brian is typing a question. It hasn't come through yet. There it is. Brian asks, if using the ADV model, could you still do a screenshot photo on an iPad?
Yes, you can do the screenshot on an iPad. Very good question. A lot of people don't know this. There's a little trick on your iPad. If you want to do a screenshot, you hold your home button and the power button. You press them at the same time, and you can do a screenshot. So the answer is yes. With the eBot Advanced model, you can do a screenshot and capture the image, and it will save into the photo icon of your tablet. Good question. In fact, we did that just today. In order to display the eBot icon screen for the eBot Advanced and the eBot Pro, that's what we did. We actually captured the image by capturing the screenshot on an iPad, and I sent those images to Michelle, and she built it into our PowerPoint presentation today.
Brian says, awesome. Can't wait for students to try it out.
Well, Brian, I can tell you students love it. I've been very surprised. I showed it at one of the schools for the blind, and I thought that the high school students were going to be the most interested because I thought they'd be the most into the technology. Instead, I was very surprised. There was a 7.5-year-old boy with albinism and another 8-year-old, and the two of them are the ones that really took to it. And the younger ones actually just started using the touch screen of the iPad. The older ones wanted to stand back and ask questions. And this School for the Blind actually transferred the students' records to the local school districts, and both school districts are going to buy an eBot, one for a 7.5-year-old, another for an 8-year-old. And I was thinking it was going to be the high school level that would be the most popular, but it appears the lower level and the intermediate level seem to be the more popular levels right now in schools for eBot. So does everyone understand why we titled this session Greater Independence? It's because we're talking about the first device that displays on a tablet. It gives you wireless capabilities, so you're not tethered by a video cable. You have touchscreen and remote control user interfaces, which most products don't give you. I mean, the list goes on about why. It is battery powered, by the way. There's a built-in 4-hour to 4.5-hour battery. It's user replaceable. If you wanted to buy an extra battery, you could. It's just that there's no extra or external charger. Batteries are charged inside of the eBot itself. So you get home from work or school, charge the current battery that's installed, take it out before you go to bed, slot in the second battery, charge that overnight. When you wake up in the morning, you have 2 batteries, each battery carrying 4 to 4.5 hours of battery use time. So that's just a few reasons why it's greater independence. You know, being a standalone OCR as well as a video magnifier. Having the capability of not only reading, writing, doing hobbies under a camera, but having distance viewing. You know, having the space under the camera, the 12 inches of clearance and an open architecture design to do hobbies under it, do class projects in a school. So the list of independent capabilities, and this comes all in one package. The versatile connectivity to all these different devices. It's all in one package. You get a lot. It's good value.
Kim says, thank you for this informative webinar. Nice to see what applications the 3 have. Do you have to have an iPad or tablet, or will this work with an Android phone such as Galaxy 4?
Actually, it does not work with the smartphones. Originally, we thought phones were going to be a little too small. The smallest screen I guess it's working with is an iPad mini screen. The tablets have a different display format than do the phones. As you know, tablets are not quite as rectangular the tablets are not quite as rectangular as phones are. So the display format's different. In other words, if we did just make the connection to a phone right now, the text would be a little skewed, angled. So there's a little more programming involved than just the compatibility. We've received this comment more often than we thought the question might be asked. And some people have actually described, when they ask us, we say, well, what would you do with it? Isn't a phone too small? Well, number one, the phones are getting bigger. Apple recently introduced their Apple 6 and 6 Plus, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, and Samsung already had several models of big screens. So, some people have told us what they do with it. Some people said, I just want to look something up quickly. And so I didn't bring my tablet. I only have my phone with me. But there's several examples people have given us. So it is on our list of possible things to do. With HIMS, firmware updates have always been free. HIMS is the pioneer of firmware updates. With our Braille products, from day one, we've always had free firmware updates. We've never charged the customer for a software maintenance agreement. And our policy will hold true with the eBot as well. So from time to time, you will see that there's an upgrade flag available on your eBot icon. And you're welcome to go and upgrade your eBot viewer. So features like this would probably be in the form of the eBot viewer. But if it's something more involved, that it actually needs to update the firmware on the chip that is in the motherboard of the eBot back control panel, that is also free. It's going to be a link on our website in the Resource Center under eBot. We will post those from time to time, so you would want to reference the website or call into our office and ask what the latest version is, and you would then download it, through the computer over Wi-Fi, if you can, to the eBot, or just download it to a USB or to a USB drive, because eBot has a USB slot in the back that you could upgrade it with, or download it to an SD card, and you can use the SD card slot in an eBot Pro. So there's various ways to update and upgrade your eBot firmware when we come out with a new firmware release. So I don't know for sure whether it would just be an eBot viewer upgrade if and when we come out with phone access, or if it would have to be a firmware update on the main board. But we have it on our list of things to consider. Our plan currently is to have 2 eBot firmware updates or eBot viewer updates, major eBot viewer updates in 2015, and those will be free. Currently there are a couple of products around the market that are what I call transportables. It's a camera connected by an arm to a 24-inch monitor. It has reading, writing distance, and OCR, screen capture type of capability. It's not a full desktop because it's not 30, 40 pounds. It probably weighs more than the nature of 20, 25 pounds. But when you go portable, what are you going to do? Are you going to pack that whole big thing into a luggage type case with a pull-up handle and wheels? Or in the case of eBot, are you just going to disconnect the big monitor, then collapse your eBot down into its packing position, put it in your eBot case, the carrying case, grab your iPad and go?
I see a comment coming through from Greg. What are the specific controls on the back of the eBot Pro? I had a teacher say she wanted limited controls on the unit itself when working with primary grade kids.
On the back of the eBot Pro, actually, when you look at the pictures on the website, I think you can see the back control panel better. The eBot Pro only has the power on-off button and the LED camera lights on-off button on the back control panel. Those are the buttons that are the control buttons are on the top. It does have the Wi-Fi on-off switch on the right side. It does have the volume dial for the built-in voice guide on the right side. So those are the only buttons or switches. All of the other functions for the eBot Pro are going to be on your remote. If you're using a tablet, then it'll give you touchscreen capability, which of course, if you don't want the touchscreen available, you can turn it off in your tablet device. But anyway, there's only 2 buttons, power on off and lights on off on the eBot Pro. On the eBot and eBot Advanced, it has also the zoom up and down, the text, image mode, backward or forward through all 8 image modes, and it has a contrast setting, higher or lower. There's 40 contrast settings. So there's 6 additional function buttons on the eBot and eBot Advanced, but on the eBot Pro, there's only 2. Actually, that question, that's not uncommon when we've been in schools in particular. Sometimes either the teacher wants control of the eBot, or they can set the eBot up if there's going to mostly be doing distance viewing, for example. They can set the eBot up in one location. It doesn't have to be on the student's desk. It can be next to the student, but even more than an arm's length away, and the student can just use the touch gestures on the tablet, or they can use the remote control and move the camera around the room.
Pro, also worth noting that it is good for people who have multiple disabilities or physical disabilities where they might have a tremor or limited use of their hands, so that they don't really need the controls on the screen or on the unit, and they've got them all on that remote control, including the joystick. We have one more comment coming through from Dan. Dan asked, what is the max distance of the remote?
It's a hard question because it depends on the angle that you're kind of aiming the remote at. We've used the remote in presentations from 8 feet away. I've been 8 feet away from it and used the remote. I haven't really tested for the longest distance, but if that gives you an idea, I've used it from 8 feet away. A couple of times I may have had to click the same button twice. I think if you kind of aim anywhere near the halo of the product, if you get close, it'll pick it up from 8 feet away. I feel pretty sure about that because I've done that in presentations. How much farther than that? Honestly, I'm not sure, Dan. I'm sorry.
We should probably mention, too, that the remote is RF. It is not infrared. So you can point it generally in the direction of the eBot, and it will still work. So if we don't have any other questions coming through, I think, James, it's safe to close the webinar.
Michelle, what is our next webinar?
It is easy to learn and use AT for seniors and tech adverse. So we're going to talk about assistive technology that's easy to use and easy to learn, because if it's not easy to use and easy to learn and people aren't using it, then it doesn't do them any good. So we're going to go over some solutions that might be good maybe for Christmas presents or for people who aren't particularly fond of technology, but that would benefit from it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your time, your interest. Please feel free to request the copy of the PowerPoint presentation if that would help you. Feel free to pass it along. This is a small industry. Getting the word out is not easy. So if we can spread the word amongst ourselves, we can perhaps help even more people. I've dedicated my career to this industry, having low vision myself, and I truly appreciate your time. And thank you so much.